So what's good, homies? It's your man, Dr. BOA. You know, sometimes a man goes through so much with a particular woman that it causes him to lose sight of who he is as a man, who he was as a man, who he wants to be as a man, who he needs to be as a man. And a lot of times men going through divorces, especially men who are well-to-do or who have put themselves in a positive financial position in life, those men tend to get a little bit worse when they go through a messy divorce with a woman. Now, as you recall, recently, Dr. Dre was admitted to the hospital, man, because of a brain aneurysm. And we all attribute it to, the stress that he's been experiencing going through this divorce with his wife of 20 years, Nicole. What I will say is this. That is the point that Dre gave in, gave up, submitted. And as a man, once you submit, even a broke man who submits, it affects him in a negative manner. But if you're a made man and you submit to a woman, then it's really going to affect you in a negative manner. So, in my estimation, the powerlessness of divorce killed Dr. Dre's self-worth so much that he ended up settling for a unworthy, low-hanging fruit scallywag like Apryl Jones. We know her history. We know that she has some very unscrupulous dealings with men in her past that just showed a level of disrespect for him and a disrespect for herself. So I ask you, why is it that Dr. Dre, the icon that he is, the billionaire icon that he is, would stoop to such levels and engage with such low-hanging fruit? Let's take a deep dive on this one. But first, let's elevate to a higher plane. Prepare for takeoff. Now, the first thing we have to understand is this. The effects of female manipulation on a man's psyche is the number one reason I promote that you men do everything in your power to protect your alpha energy. Guard your alpha energy. Shield your alpha energy from all things that are oppositional to it. Embracing more toxic femininity is not the solution to your feelings of being a lesser man after being dominated into submission by your previous woman, as we've seen happen with Dr. Dre. Now, granted, this situation represents his chickens coming home to roost. He did take a man's wife, lure her away with the promise of providing her better than that man can. So he pretty much, bought a woman's presence in his life. And now that woman feels like, okay, I've given you 20 years, you owe me more. But when you think about the woman that he chose to be around, listen, even if this is just a casual date, why would a man of this status and this stature deal with a woman like that? I'm not saying you have to deal with a woman who's rich or famous. I'm saying you have to deal with a woman who does not have this reputation. This is a bad look for any man of means. Man, this is a bad look for me. I wouldn't deal with Apryl Jones. I wouldn't take Apryl Jones out on a date. Man, Apryl Jones couldn't even come through, man, and show me, how she made the dean's list. She couldn't show me, man, what kind of dome she got, bro. There's no reason that a chick like Apryl Jones will ever be able to come through my career. But here's Dre. He's a made man, well-respected in his industry, well-respected in multiple industries. And this is what he resorts to. Why? Because he doesn't remember the value that he has in himself. Even long ago, he obviously attached his value to a woman. In order to go to a man's wife and say that out of all the women in the world, I want to take you from him, it just goes to show how much of his value, how much of his self-worth is into taking care of a woman. So it is very possible that sometimes a man needs a woman with such low self-esteem that she'll accept that position of inferiority, that position of have-nottedness, that position of neediness, that you need to make yourself feel valuable because now you have someone else to take care of. For 20 years, Dre took care of a woman. Now, at this point, you see his wife is already accusing him of having multiple girlfriends that he's providing for. Dre needs to provide for a woman. He is one of these guys who doesn't feel worthwhile if he's not a provider for a woman. And who knows where that comes from? Because there are many men out here like that. There are many men on this particular platform listening to the content who are just like that and trying to figure out a way out of that. There are men who are dealing on these sites where you go to these sites with the intent on paying women to be in your life. This is not something that's just specific to Dr. Dre, but at a certain point, you would think that a man will reach a certain financial status where he will understand that, maybe there's another way. Maybe he could afford some type of therapy that he needs, or he can figure out a way to not be this type of guy. So he goes from taking care of one woman for 20 years to taking care of every woman he's coming across. And I can guarantee you that this relationship is one of those sugar daddy relationships. This is the same chick who got with her baby daddy's bandmate and longtime friend not long after they broke up and paraded around publicly. And she's had several episodes of ranting online about how, is her kitty. She can do whatever she want to do with it. She can give it to whoever she want to give it with. Why are we concerned about it? Why is anybody concerned about it? No one's concerned about what you do with your kitty. I'm concerned about the effects that this has on the men that you're dealing with. And I want to talk to these men. You men have to understand that whenever you feel like this, never go for the low-hanging fruit. There is no logical reason for you to go for the low-hanging fruit. It is all emotional. Even if you're a man who needs a woman to be in a certain position in your life so you can feel better about yourself, that's emotional. If you need a woman that'll cater to you, if you need a woman that just looks pretty to you, if you need a woman that's just young so you can parade around, anything you need to do in order to parade around comes from an emotional perspective. And that emotion is lack of love of self. You could give a man billions of dollars. You could give a man all the fame and prestige in the world. You could give a man all the name recognition in the world. But if that man does not value himself internally as a man, then he does embarrassing things like this. I know some beta male Simon Johnny gonna come in here and say, well, Dr. BOA, you gotta let Dr. Dre do whatever he want to do, man. He went through a lot, Dr. BOA. Maybe he needs no woman that is just a regular old woman, just a regular old good girl that gonna love him. Now, I know you might say she ain't no good girl, Dr. BOA, because of her past, but we all got a past, Dr. BOA. We all got a past, Dr. BOA. So if she been with her best friend, well, maybe she'll get with his best friend too. But that don't matter, Dr. BOA. You gotta take a chance on a bad woman, Dr. BOA, because behind every bad woman is a man who let her be bad, Dr. BOA, and I am the one to do that. You don't know nothing about women, Dr. BOA. You ain't gonna never have a bad girl, never in your life. Unsubscribe. Okay, unsubscribe, sucker, but before you go, let me tell you this. If your logic is that you're gonna go out and let a bad girl use you to be the type of guy who's gonna try to woo her back into being a good girl, you miss out on one old adage that's been relevant since the beginning of time. Once a good girl goes bad, she's never good again. So it doesn't matter how close Apryl Jones gets to the wall. When she gets to the other side of the wall, when she becomes a cat lady, she's gonna be the same type as Eartha Kitt, who sits up and rants about how she's all alone at 60, 70, 80 years old, like it's a good thing to be. When a man has had his energy drained by a woman he originally thought was prime stock, he has a tendency to go the other direction and go for the absolutely low-hanging fruit in an effort to not be surprised by the low-hanging fruit. But I say to you, why is that man not looking at himself saying, you know what, I need to take a break from these bras and really focus on myself. I need to understand myself. I need to figure out how I got to this point in life where here I am. I'm Dr. Dre. I'm rich. I'm famous. I'm well respected. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member. I am just at the top of my game in my industry, and I have been for years. I've outlasted the majority of the people who started this game with me. Why am I dealing with this? But that's not what he does. He does what his heart tells him to do. And his heart tells him, do something to heal us. The problem with that is, you can never heal your heart with a good girl. And you sure can't heal it with a bad girl. Because anything that you've taken into yourself spiritually through an emotionally painful channel is something that you must heal internally, spiritually. And there's no woman on the planet, no matter how good or bad she is, that can help you do that. Sometimes you have to take a step back from women and say to yourself, the women aren't the problem. The way I am when I interact with the women is the problem. I would suggest a brother like Dre take some of that paper he's sitting on, man, and kind of build a slight fortress around himself and heal himself. Take the time, effort, energy, and whoever you need to speak to, whatever spiritual advisor you need to pull yourself back together as a man, because, brother, this is a bad look for you. This woman doesn't deserve dinner. You could deal with who you want to deal with behind closed doors, but this woman doesn't deserve to be in public being flaunted around by a man of such means and a man of such status. She slept with her baby daddy's broke bandmate. Like her baby daddy was the lead singer of the group. The guy she slept around with got kicked out of the band and off the tour by the guy who ran the tour, who was her baby daddy. So not only does she not have any moral fiber when it comes to what she's willing to do in order to prove a point and make herself feel like a woman or make herself feel good or whatever she needed to feel, she doesn't even make good decisions when it comes to the man she's going to move on to. It makes no sense. How do you move from a position that you went and got a PhD for to going down to a position that only requires a high school diploma or a GED, and you still got the same student loan debt? This is the equivalent of how this chick actions have proven she thinks. And there's no way a man of Dr. Dre's status should be involved with a woman of such lowly ranking in society, even amongst her peers. Y'all comment down below and let me know what you think about this topic, man. I look forward to hearing what you men have to say. I'm out.
Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Simps claiming that they pimps, but they not though. Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Suckers claiming to be players, but they not though. Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Tricks acting like they max, but they not though. Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto.